Well. We are going to game 7. What's good, y'all? Y'all see this excellent series, yo. It's quite literally cinema for the most part. We have excellent actors out there really performing, doing their best out there to go ahead and sell their cause. Indeed. And my salty no, because I'm not gonna be I don't know. I there's something I wanna say before I get into the actual game 6. I've noticed on the discourse of just in general, especially recently. Um, First things first, I think foul baiting is a skill, and I think it's great. And I think the two-star players, the two MVP candidates, know their best and know their way to go ahead and get there. All great scorers know how to get to the free throw line. All great scorers know how to. It looks egregious whenever you look at the replay, though. It looks egregious when you look at the replay. And I'm going to say, Jokic is a foul baiter too. I'm not going to shame it though. I'm not going to say this and the third. I don't know why. I have an idea, but I don't know why one player gets so hated on of doing that while the other player doesn't. And I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it's the size of it that does it. I'm not exactly sure. But what I will say is basketball is turning into soccer. It turned into soccer, and I don't think flopping was such a big thing. I remember again like a decade ago, flopping was a lot more reserved for certain players. I remember like a decade ago, Marcus Smart is the flopper. He is the flop king. He is the guy that does so, and a lot of it would be on the defensive end for the most part, trying to sell those illegal screens and things of that type of nature. And Marcus Smart is the one that comes straight to my head because I remember those Boston Celtics days, and you will have a whole highlight page of Marcus Smart flops. LeBron has a decent of them, especially in the mid 2010s and everything. Of flopping, but you don't see too much flopping of prior. And I don't want to say that it was out the game because shout out Magic Johnson and Larry Bird during the USA pictures. They laughed about don't touch Mike because you might get a foul call. I think getting to the line is a great thing, and I think the two players that are getting to the line clearly get the contact that they shouldn't. They get certain calls that should be fouls and some calls they don't get. You have to go ahead and they both drive. One drives and is a guard, and every time he shoots a shot, there's hands being put onto him. The other one is a big man that's going to be in the paint for the most part. He's going to get his offensive rebound. He's going to be inside the paint. He's going to maneuver that. He's going to get calls like that too. It's nasty to just go on Twitter or just the discourse of free throw merchant. It's so nasty, especially that they both get free. They both act for sure. They both act. But one could act like it's not like this is the worst we've ever seen. James Harden averaged so much more. Michael Jordan had averaged so much more. We've seen players average more free throws. That's what I didn't understand about this season from Shea, that so many people was mad at him for shooting free throws. Bro, there's more players that have averaged more free throws attempts with less statistical drives than this man. He drives in the paint more than anybody other than Giannis. He's going to get the call. What are we even talking about? It's like, what are we even talking about? Are we just watching highlights at this point? Are we just not watching the games? And that's really what it is at the end of the day. Again, like I said, basketball is turning more into soccer because soccer, I remember, especially when I was younger, he just had a stigma of faking injuries. You can fake injuries, this and the third. And I'm not much in the realm of the soccer realm and everything. But I just remember the comedic effect, the comedy of soccer players. You can't touch them or they will fake the injury and everything. Basketball is starting to get to this way. I'm not sure exactly. I'm not gonna say I don't know how or why, because it probably has to tailor to the fact that there's real life refs that has to dictate what is the call. And with it being real life refs and it being a very precise game more than it being a physical game like football. Football, I will say, you're starting to see a lot more flops in ways of that in that type of action, but it's hard to get a flop in football because it's a physical game at the end of the day. There's not much precision behind it. You could have grabbing, but it's more of like the face mask is holding, is the grabbing. That's the stuff that is more tailored to it. You know, basketball, again, you're not really supposed to touch too much of the player. So as a player gets touched and slapped in the arm, from the outside fan perspective, it's not crazy. It's not like it's anything. You would think that it's something little because we play basketball outside and that happens, and you don't call the foul as much. You play through it, and you do. NBA players do that. Shaq, then again, this game 6, and I'll get into. There's been a couple calls that he didn't get, and he made the bucket too. That he could have gotten called for the foul, but he just ended up not doing so. He still plays through the context of it. I really wish I gotta find the stat. Who made the most and ones? Again, I would assume that I was saying it during the stream, that I would assume a big averages the most free throws. I'm not free throws, average the most and ones. But I wouldn't be surprised if Shea was in that top 3 category. And for a guard to even be in the top 3 categories is extremely impressive, I will say. So into that analysis of actual Game 6, I had a feeling that we weren't going to close this game out, if I'll be honest. And it would have had to have taken a Shea masterclass and would have taken somebody else to step up, because I had a feeling before this game that Christian Braun was going to have a good game. And I didn't expect Julian Strawther. But I again, from a wise man, when I had said, role players play great at home. And it showed out for sure this game. You know, Christian Braun had his career high this game. Playoff career high this game. Julian Strawther came in and lit up any chance that they went ahead and had. And we'll get to the late fourth quarter push that the Thunder actually went ahead and was able to try to make. But Julian Strawther came in and created so much for that offense, especially in that time. And that's why I had a feeling that it wasn't going to go as planned. It was going to be more closer, not a blowout. Because again, that's why I kind of have faith. Wow, I don't even know what that was. That's why I'm not too extremely worried about Game 7. And before even getting too much into Game 7 and talking about Game 6, because I'll go ahead and put a pin onto that. Game 6, there's a lot of things I've noticed. I've noticed that foul trouble in the first half really put Shea and the offense in general in a real chokehold and limited what it could be. We had a 12-point lead with about 3 minutes left in the second quarter, and it had diminished to about 3 points because Shea had to sit for that whole time, and it was a J-Dub-led offense. And we have seen that a J-Dub-led offense isn't the most efficient offense that could be. He had an abysmal game. I believe that he will bounce back Game 7 because that's my guy, and I'm going to believe on him because he had a good game previously that we ended up losing, but he had a good game. At the end of the day, 3 shots is unacceptable. I think he can make 7 shots. There was a couple of plays down the line that you just had a feeling as a Thunder fan, like, wow, this game is over. Whenever he had the breakaway dunk and it just missed, man, you knew it was kind of over for him. Even the other one where Payne Watson, excellent play by Payne Watson again. I have a bunch of Payne Watson stock because I think he could be a great player. I think as a defender that he is, a shot blocker for that side. There was a play where there was a fast break and J-Dub slowed down, went from right to the left, and Payne Watson ended up blocking it. That was a type of night for J-Dub. There was a couple dunks that could have been, easy ones to go ahead and help, but they ended up just not going in. And it's I expect Game 7 to be a huge one for him. Chet played pretty good. Caruso got a lot of fouls. That's the thing. That's another thing I noticed, especially. It was a lot of the home crowd definitely seemed like it had gone into these players' heads for some sort. Jay Wood didn't get any burn, and the last play that I remember him being in was the moving screen that he had on Jamal Murray. Man, that energy in Denver was crazy, especially coming in that second half. And it all plays on the back that we gave Denver energy in that end of the second quarter, and Shea couldn't do anything. The thing I was really pissed at Mark is in the beginning of the third quarter, he ended up sitting Shea with about 7 minutes in the third quarter. Thing is that this is the best I've seen Shea play other than Game 2. He felt so comfortable out there. He was getting to his spots and it was actually following. He was hitting his threes. He was like, it was really flowing for him, and for him to have this foul trouble was so misfortunate because, again, the beginning of the third quarter, he only played about 3-4 minutes before he ended up sitting, and he sat for a majority of it. And he played the whole fourth quarter, which was expected because he sat for so long in the third quarter. But it was all because he had that foul trouble. And even in the fourth quarter, this is the one thing I'm mad at. You know, you can be mad at all the other role players. You can be mad at everybody. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a bit mad at shit for not shooting more shots. 16 shots he ended up shooting was absolutely not acceptable. I understand that he was getting his teammates involved, and there's a couple plays where he was making the correct plays. But was that the correct play to really make whenever everybody else isn't getting it going and you're the only one getting it going? I needed him to shoot. He shot 3-4 shots in that fourth quarter. Unacceptable, especially when you're going off and everybody else isn't. I need you to force him. At the end of the day. Game 3, you ended up forcing a lot of, what was it, game 3? Game 3, you ended up forcing shots at the end of that fourth quarter and OT. Not even OT, you didn't even shoot a ball in OT. In the fourth quarter, down the stretch, right? You tried playing hero ball and it didn't work out. You learned from that lesson and you learned that it wasn't going to work out. Hey, hero ball has worked. It just wasn't your night that day. This night could have been that chance. If I'll be honest with you, because at the end of this fourth quarter, whenever there was about 5 minutes left, Denver kept the lead about 12 to 8. You know, throughout the whole entire fourth quarter, which was impressive because Denver had led up the past 2 games 8 and 6 point leads from what I remember. So they tightened up on their end, and it had help with Julian Strawther being the guy that's hitting shots. We didn't need to see a lot of the pass miss from him. We played a great defense. I think we're a defensive team. I've said this all year. We won 68 wins because of our defense. That's why we had won 68 wins. There was moments here where we had turnovers. It was a turnover to a bucket, I think. Another turnover to that J-Dub missed dunk, and then another turnover, and then it went out of bounds from the Aaron Gordon kickball. I don't remember if we scored or not. I don't fully remember. But those plays, we live on the defense, and we committed defensive turnovers. I'm not gonna lie, that brought down the lead, but we couldn't get a bucket on the other end. And it's because I won't lie, Isaiah Joe was in the game. I don't know why Isaiah Joe's in the game. I guess it's for spacing reasons, but he hasn't hit a 3 since the blowout in game 2. He's not hit a single 3 since the blowout in game 2. He's like 4 for like 10. 11, 12. And it's the trust that you have, and that's why Shea kept passing the ball in the fourth and not playing hero ball. Because you trust your teammates at the end of the day. That's what you got to do. But at a certain point, you got to put it in your own hands. You got to get it in your own hands. And that's what I'm worried about in Game 7. I believe role players going to play great at home. I expect players to go ahead and perform way better, especially our role players. I expect them to play way better. It's the other end. There's 2 things that could happen. I don't expect Julian Strawther to have a good game. I don't expect him 15. I don't even expect Christian Barnes to have his playoff career high. I'm worried about a Jokic 40 ball because the only times at home, from what I remember, because we had game 1 and 2 at home, and we split during that. Game 5 we had and we had won that. Game 6 they had, and game 7. So look, in those games, game 1 and game 5 were the games that they were close, but they were 40 balls. He had 40 balls. The second game was a blowout, and that's what I'm hoping for game 7. I'm hoping we just come out with a haymaker and end it quick. But game 1 and game 5, the ones that we were home at, it took Jokic a 40 ball for them to even get a chance to win. That's what I'm worried about. Game 1 was an easily win game, except it that big blunder at the end. In game 5, we was able to go ahead and, even though he had 40, we was able to go ahead and live. We was able to go ahead and survive that barrage. If Jokic doesn't have a 40-point game, we end up winning this series. That's what you would like to say. That's what you would like to think. Role players play great at home, and everybody else, other than Aaron Gordon and Jamal Murray for 3 quarters, had played great at away games. So I would say you don't expect a Christian Braun to have a career high. You don't expect Julian Strawther to come in and play good. Russ is somebody that comes in and could play good, because at the end of the day, it's always going to be home for Russ. But at the same time, Russ had not been too effective this series. Later in the series, Pete Watt's not going to do much. Michael Porter Jr. might put something, maybe. The only reason I say something is because this game he had hit like three threes, which is pretty good for Michael Porter Jr. Pretty good for Michael Porter Jr. So at home, I don't expect him to hit those 3 threes. Certain things has to line up, and this is what the regular season. A lot of discourse of this past playoffs has been, does the regular season matter? If the Thunder end up winning this series, it's going to matter. Because Denver went ahead and beat the Clippers in Game 7, and they blew them out because they had the home court. Everybody's playing good other than Jokic in that Game 7. It's because you have the home court advantage. You have the crowd. You are at home. And this is Game 7. Again, if the Thunder end up winning this series, especially at home, that's going to be a pivotal thing. It's going to be such a pivotal thing because that's why you play the regular season, so you can get that advantage. We've seen so much about so far that the away team was winning so much more than the home team, especially in the second round. We've seen it. The Knicks had done so, the Patriots had done so, the Nuggets had done so, the Timberwolves had done so. And on the Eastern Conference side, 0-2s for them, while the West, they end up splitting. But you end up having this home court advantage for Game 7. That's why you do it. In case there's a Game 7, that's why you win and you bust your ass all year long. And so you can play at a court and at home. Thunder in 7. I'm hoping for a blow-off, I'll be honest with you. Hope we just lead this haymaker. Game 7s are so unpredictable. You don't know what to expect. But I do expect the role players to go ahead and hit their shots. I expect a huge game for Shea, especially building off of Game 5 and building off this Game 6. Game 7, I'm hoping that he has that 40 ball. And then more than anything, is a W. If you made it this far, I appreciate y'all. Playoffs have been cinema so far. New champion, more than likely, if the Nuggets don't end up making it again. I'm excited to see. I'm so excited. Playoffs have been so good again. But I'll catch you on the next video. Love y'all. Peace.